Cole Davidson woke at 5:30 in the morning because men like him never stop waking at 5:30. Not after 30 years of riding, not after 3 years of grief. The clubhouse smelled like old leather and stale beer, and through the gaps in the boarded windows, Arizona dawn bled orange across the concrete floor. He sat on the edge of his cot in the back room, the one with the lock, the one nobody entered without knocking, and he stared at the photograph taped to the wall above the sink. Michael Aaron Davidson, born May 17th, 97, died November 3rd, 2021. 24 years old, needle still in his arm when the paramedics arrived, pupils fixed and dilated. No pulse, no breath, no second chance. Cole's knuckles went white around the edge of the cot frame. The metal groaned. He forced his hands open, watched the blood return to his fingers in slow pulses. 3 years, 1,095 days. He'd counted every one. The boy had tried to tell him, had come to the clubhouse 6 months before it happened, said the words out loud, said he needed help, said the pills weren't working anymore and the powder was easier to find. Cole had told him to quit being soft. Davidson men don't run from pain. Davidson men face it down. Davidson men handle their business. Michael had nodded, had walked out of the clubhouse, had handled his business with a needle and $20 worth of fentanyl-laced heroin in a gas station bathroom off Route 17. Cole stood joints protesting, vertebrae cracking like small caliber rounds. 58 years old. Too old to still be sleeping on a cot in a clubhouse. Too old to still be running from the ghost of a conversation he'd give his right arm to have again. He splashed water on his face from the sink. The mirror showed him what he already knew. Gray beard, gray hairlines carved deep around eyes that had seen too much and understood too little. He pulled on his jeans, his boots, his cut, the leather vest with the Iron Brotherhood patches that marked him as president, as leader, as the man who was supposed to have answers. The main room of the clubhouse stretched empty and quiet in the early light. Pool table scarred with cigarette burns. Bar lined with bottles nobody had touched in weeks. Photographs covering every inch of wall space, faces of brothers, past and present. Some alive, some in the ground, all of them bound by the same code: loyalty, honor, brotherhood above blood. And in the center of the wall, isolated in its own frame, the photograph Cole couldn't walk past without feeling something crack open in his chest. Michael at 17, grinning, sitting on Cole's old Harley, giving the camera the same cocky smile that had once made Cole laugh and later made him want to scream. Footsteps on gravel outside. Cole knew the weight of each man's walk. This one belonged to Raymond Caldwell, early riser Vietnam veteran, the brother who'd been riding longer than most of the current members had been alive. The door opened. Raymond entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the gas station 3 blocks over, steam rising in the cool morning air. He set one on the bar in front of Cole, said nothing, just stood there in his worn denim and faded patches, a man who'd learned in the jungles of Southeast Asia that sometimes silence carried more weight than words. Cole lifted the cup. Black, no sugar, hot enough to burn. The first sip tasted like ritual. Raymond broke the quiet with a voice like gravel under tires. You planning to spend another day staring at walls, or are we going to talk about what's killing this club? Cole set the cup down. We're dying slow. Been dying 3 years since Michael, since you stopped giving a damn about anything but that picture. The words should have sparked anger. Instead, they landed like truth, heavy and immovable. Cole looked around the empty room, the space that used to hold 20 brothers on a Tuesday morning, now echoing with absence. Raymond continued, each word measured. We got 8 active members, 8. Used to be 35. Young guys don't join anymore. They see us as relics, old men playing dress-up on motorcycles. And the ones who do join, they leave inside 6 months because we're not standing for anything except memory. We stand for brotherhood. We stand for the pace. There's a difference. Cole felt the weight of the cut on his shoulders, the patches that represented decades of road of fights, of blood spilled and debts paid. The Iron Brotherhood had meant something once, had been men who protected their own, who kept the old codes when the world moved on, who understood that honor wasn't about legality, but about keeping your word when it cost you something. Now they were 8 men sitting in a clubhouse, waiting for purpose to find them. Raymond pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket, smoothed it on the bar. Phone number written in neat handwriting, area code 602, Phoenix. Tommy got a call last week. Marcus Sullivan. The name pulled Cole back 13 years to a night in Las Vegas when Marcus had shown up at a neutral meeting half dead, beaten within an inch of his life by rival MC members who'd decided Iron Brotherhood needed a message written in blood. Marcus had survived, barely saved by someone. None of them had ever met a civilian woman who'd pulled him from death's doorstep and faced down killers to keep him breathing. Hawk's been quiet a long time. Not anymore. Says he finally found her. The woman who saved him. Lives here, Flagstaff. Cole's fingers tightened around the coffee cup. He's sure. Tracked her for 3 months. Hospital worker, phlebotomist, works mornings at Flagstaff Medical Center. Nights at Smith's Grocery on 4th Street. Name's Sarah Chen Martinez. Single mother. 9-year-old daughter. Marcus says it's her. Says he's certain. The coffee had gone lukewarm. Cole drank it anyway, buying time to think. 12 years ago, the club had made a decision: find the woman who saved Marcus, thank her properly, offer protection under Iron Brotherhood code. Any civilian who saved a brother earned that much. But Vegas was a big city, and the woman had vanished like smoke. No forwarding address, no trace, just a memory of kindness that had haunted Marcus ever since. We owe her. Raymond's eyes held something Cole hadn't seen in months: purpose. More than owe. She saved Marcus when he was ready to die. When those vipers left him bleeding in an alley, when every smart person would have walked away, she pulled him inside, hid him, patched him up, faced down the men hunting him, and lied to their faces. Marcus says she's why he's alive. Says she's why he believed brotherhood meant something. Cole thought about debts, about the old code, about the kind of courage it took to save a stranger when saving him might get you killed. His father had taught him the rules before he'd taught him to ride, protect the weak, honor your word, repay what's owed. Simple, clear, the kind of clarity Cole hadn't felt since Michael died. We ride to her. Today. Offer thanks, offer protection, settle the debt. There's more. Raymond's voice dropped the tone that meant complications incoming. Marcus says she's got military in her past. Won't talk about it, but he saw the way she moved, the way she handled trauma. He thinks Iraq, maybe Afghanistan. Combat vet, living quiet, working 2 jobs to keep her kid fed. The details shifted something in Cole's chest. A veteran. A woman who'd served and come home to minimum wage in silence. He thought about Raymond, who'd come back from Vietnam to spit and protest signs, who'd found brotherhood in motorcycle clubs because nobody else wanted men who'd done what needed doing in places nobody wanted to remember. Then we do this right. Full club. Formal. Show respect. Raymond nodded, pulled out his phone, started texting. Within minutes, the responses came back to Tommy. Wrench on his way. Jackson Bull pulling up in 15, young Danny Chen rolling out of bed and promising coffee first. The Brotherhood stirring purpose, lighting fires in men who'd been drifting. By 7 a.m., 8 men stood in the clubhouse wearing cuts and carrying the weight of ritual. Cole laid it out simple. Sarah Chen Martinez saved Marcus Sullivan in Vegas 2012. By old code, the debt passed to the club. Today they found her, thanked her, offered Iron Brotherhood protection for life. Tommy spoke up, the mechanic who'd been riding 20 years, who'd buried his wife and raised 3 daughters alone. We showing up at her work. No, too public might scare her. We find where she goes during downtime. Somewhere neutral. We approach respectful, explain the situation, let her decide how this goes. Jackson, the huge man with gentle eyes and hands that could crush skulls, but mostly petted stray dogs, asked the question. Nobody wanted voiced. What if she doesn't want contact? What if she saved Marcus and moved on, doesn't want old business coming back? Cole met his eyes. Then we respect that. But we still watch over her. Protection doesn't require permission. It's the debt. It's the code. The brothers nodded. Old men, most of them too old for the outlaw life, but still bound by the rules their fathers had taught them. Raymond was 67, Tommy 45, Jackson 52. Even young Danny at 26 seemed old in his eyes, searching for meaning in a world that had stopped making sense. They split up the recon. Tommy would watch the hospital parking lot, discreet, just looking for routine. Jackson would check the grocery store. Danny would scout her neighborhood, get a feel for the area. Raymond and Cole would handle the approach when the moment came. By 9 a.m., Cole sat on his Harley in the Flagstaff Medical Center parking lot, 3 rows back from the employee entrance, and he watched Sarah Chen Martinez walk to her car. She moved like someone who'd trained to move. Efficient, aware of surroundings, eyes scanning before she unlocked the door. 38 years old, according to Marcus's information, but she carried herself older tiredness in her shoulders that spoke of years bearing weight alone. Dark hair pulled back, tight scrubs, wrinkled from a shift, and on her left forearm, just visible below the sleeve, the edge of a tattoo. Cole's breath caught. He couldn't see details from this distance, but he knew. Marcus had described its skull in a helmet wing spread wide, a variant of the Iron Brotherhood patch that Marcus had inked on her skin as payment and protection. The chip on the right wing, the tiny flaw from Marcus sneezing mid-needle, the mark that proved identity beyond doubt. She climbed into an old sedan, blue paint faded to gray, and the engine coughed twice before catching. Cole followed at distance, watching her drive through Flagstaff with the careful precision of someone who couldn't afford a ticket, who couldn't risk being late, who lived on the knife's edge of making it work. She pulled into a Smith's grocery store parking lot at 9:45, 15 minutes before her shift started. She sat in the car for those 15 minutes, head tilted back against the seat. Eyes closed, and Cole understood this was her rest. These stolen minutes between jobs. This was when Sarah Chen Martinez allowed herself to stop moving. At 10 o'clock, she walked inside. Cole waited 5 more minutes, then followed. The grocery store smelled like cleaning products and exhaustion. Sarah worked the customer service desk, scanning returns, handling complaints with a professional smile that never reached her eyes. Cole watched from the produce section, pretending to examine apples while studying the woman who'd saved his brother. She handled a difficult customer with patience. An old man yelling about expired coupons, voice rising, demanding a manager. Sarah stayed calm, voice level, explaining policy without condescension. The man kept yelling. Sarah kept explaining. Eventually, he stomped off, muttering about incompetence, and Sarah's professional smile vanished the instant his back turned. For just a moment, her face showed exhaustion, so deep it looked like pain. Cole set down the apple he'd been holding. He'd seen that look before. In Raymond's eyes after bad nights. In his own mirror after Michael died. Combat fatigue. The weariness that came from fighting too long with too little support. He left before she could notice him watching. Outside, he texted the group, confirmed. It's her. We move tonight. The afternoon stretched into evening. Cole returned to the clubhouse, showered, trimmed his beard, put on clean clothes. The brothers assembled at 5 p.m. Bikes lined up in the parking lot, engines quiet while they waited for the signal. Raymond approached leather Bible in his hand, the one he'd carried through Vietnam. You remember what your daddy taught you about approaching civilians? Respect first, honesty always. Never make them feel trapped. This woman saved Marcus. She's earned more than respect. She's earned truth. So when we talk to her, we tell her everything, who we are, what we owe, what we're offering. No games, no pressure. Just old men settling old debts. Cole looked at the assembled brothers. 8 men, average age 53, wearing leather and patches that marked them as dangerous. But dangerous didn't mean cruel. Dangerous meant capable. And capable men had responsibilities. We ride in formation. We stay calm. We let me do the talking. And if she tells us to leave, we leave. Clear. 8 voices answered as one, clear. They mounted up. Engines roared to life, the sound that had defined Cole's adult life, the thunder that meant freedom and brotherhood and purpose. They rolled out of the parking lot in tight formation, Tommy and Jackson leading Raymond and Cole in the middle, young Danny and the others bringing up the rear. Flagstaff streets passed under their wheels. Citizens stared, some nervous, some curious, all of them reacting to the sight of Iron Brotherhood patches rolling through town. Cole ignored them. Let them stare. Let them wonder. The brothers had business that mattered more than civilian opinion. They found Smith's grocery store at 6:15, just as Sarah's shift should be ending. But her car sat alone in the employee lot, and through the windows, Cole could see her still at the customer service desk. Working late. Again. He made a decision. They'd wait at the diner. Neutral ground, public place somewhere she might feel safe enough to listen. Marcus had mentioned a place called Silver Creek Diner, the spot where Sarah sometimes picked up her daughter after school when timing worked out. The brothers rode 3 miles east, found the diner exactly where Marcus said it would be. Small, family-owned, the kind of place that had been serving the same menu for 40 years. They parked in the lot, cut engines, and walked inside. The reaction was immediate. Conversation stopped mid-word. Forks froze halfway to mouths. The waitress, an older woman with kind eyes and gray hair, went pale. Mr. Garrison, the owner, according to the nameplate on his shirt, stepped back behind the counter as if the wood could shield him from 8 large men in motorcycle cuts. Cole removed his sunglasses, met the waitress's eyes, kept his voice soft. "Evening, ma'am. We're hoping to get some coffee while we wait for a friend. That acceptable?" The waitress blinked, surprised by the courtesy. She nodded slowly, gestured to a large table in the back corner. "Coffee? Sure. I'll bring a pot." "Appreciate it. And ma'am," Cole waited until she looked at him, "we're not here to cause trouble. We're here to thank someone. That's all." Something in his tone must have registered as truth because her shoulders relaxed slightly. She nodded again, disappeared into the kitchen. The brothers took the table. Cole positioned himself with his back to the wall. Old habit military training that even civilians learned after enough years on the road. From here, he could see the entrance, the parking lot through the window, and every person in the diner. Customers kept staring. An elderly couple at a table near the door whispered urgently, debating whether to leave. A family with 2 young children gathered their belongings, the father ushering his wife and kids toward the exit with nervous glances over his shoulder. Within minutes, half the diner had cleared out. Mr. Garrison approached, hands shaking, trying to maintain composure. "Gentlemen, I don't want any trouble in my establishment." Raymond spoke before Cole could. "Sir, we're veterans, most of us. Served our country, came home, found family in each other. We're here to meet someone who helped us once. We'll cause no trouble. You have our word." The word veterans shifted something. Mr. Garrison's shoulders straightened slightly. "Vietnam, 70 to 72. Marines." Mr. Garrison's expression changed entirely. "I was Army, 68 to 69. Tet Offensive." Raymond stood, extended his hand. "Thank you for your service, brother." They shook, 2 old soldiers, recognizing something in each other that civilians never quite understood. Mr. Garrison nodded, some invisible calculation made, and he turned to the remaining customers. "These men are welcome here. Anyone uncomfortable is free to leave, but you'll leave knowing they served same as many of you did." Silence. Then slowly people returned to their meals, not comfortable but no longer fleeing. The waitress brought coffee, 8 cups of full pot cream, and sugar on the side. Her hands still trembled slightly, but she managed a small smile. The brothers settled into waiting. Cole sipped his coffee and studied the diner. Photographs on the wall showed Flagstaff history, old Route 66 logging camps, pioneer families. This was America that remembered itself, small towns that still believed in community and legacy. The door opened at 6:45. A child entered alone. 9 years old, maybe 10, with dark hair and a lopsided ponytail, and a backpack covered in patches. She walked to a table near the window, sat down, pulled out a notebook, and started drawing with the focused intensity of someone who'd learned to entertain herself. Cole watched her sketch. She worked fast, confident lines, barely looking at the paper. Her eyes kept flicking up, studying the diner, then back again to capture whatever she'd seen. Artist in training, observer by nature. The brothers talked quietly among themselves, discussing nothing important, just filling time. Tommy mentioned his daughter's school play. Jackson described the stray dog he'd found last week. Young Danny said almost nothing, just listened, still learning how brotherhood worked when you weren't proving yourself through violence. The girl kept drawing. Cole noticed she was watching them, now subtle glances over her notebook, eyes tracking from face to face. Not scared, curious. Studying them the way she'd studied everything else, trying to understand what she was seeing. Raymond leaned close, whispered, "Kids got no fear." Sitting alone in a diner with 8 bikers. Most children would be hiding behind their parents. Most children aren't used to being alone. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Cole nodded. "That's Martinez's daughter." The timeline fit. Sarah working late, daughter waiting at the diner, both of them trapped in a routine that required a 9-year-old to be more independent than any child should be. Cole felt something twist in his chest. Michael had been 9 once, had sat in the same kind of diner doing homework while Cole handled club business, had learned to be self-sufficient because his father was always somewhere else doing something more important. The girl's pencil moved faster. She was drawing hands now, detailed sketches of fingers and knuckles. Strange subject for a child. But the execution showed talent, real understanding of anatomy and proportion. Tommy noticed too, she's good, really good. My youngest draws, but not like that. Natural ability or training. Who teaches a 9-year-old to draw hands? Someone who wants her to see details, to notice things. Cole kept watching. The girl finished one sketch, started another. This time she was drawing faces, quick portraits, captured in a few decisive lines. And one of the faces Cole realized with a jolt was his. She'd been studying him when he wasn't looking, memorizing features, translating them to paper. He stood slowly, walked to her table, keeping movements deliberate and non-threatening. She looked up, no fear in her eyes, just assessment. Cole gestured to her notebook with careful respect in his voice. You're talented. Those are good. The girl smiled, the kind of smile that suggested she'd been taught to be polite to adults even when uncertain. The words came clear and confident. Thank you, sir. I like drawing hands. They tell stories. What kind of stories? Like working hands are different from lazy hands. And hands that help people are different from hands that hurt people. You can tell a lot about someone from their hands. Cole looked down at his own hands, scarred knuckles from decades of fights, calluses from grips and tools, oil permanently stained under the nails, working hands, fighting hands, hands that had held his son exactly once after Michael was born, had ruffled his hair 10,000 times growing up, and had helped carry his casket 3 years ago. What do mine tell you? The girl studied his hands with an artist's intensity, then met his eyes. Your hands fixed a lot of things and protected a lot of people, but they're also sad. I don't know how hands can be sad, but yours are. The observation hit Cole like a physical blow. This stranger had seen in 30 seconds what he'd been carrying for 3 years. He didn't know how to respond, didn't trust his voice. The girl kept talking, oblivious to the impact of her words. My mom has sad hands too. She works really hard, 2 jobs. She's always tired, but she never complains. She says complaining doesn't fix anything. Your mom sounds like a strong woman. She is. She was in the army before I was born. She doesn't talk about it much, but I've seen pictures. She has a tattoo from those days. It's really pretty. Cole's pulse jumped. He kept his voice carefully neutral. What kind of tattoo? A skull with wings, like an angel but tougher. Mom says a friend gave it to her a long time ago. There's a little chip on the wing like a mistake, but Mom says it's perfect because it makes it unique. Raymond had heard the conversation. He met Cole's eyes across the diner, gave the slightest nod. This was Sarah Chen Martinez's daughter. No question. Cole returned to his table, mind racing. They'd come to find Sarah to thank her to offer protection. Instead, they'd found her daughter alone waiting, drawing pictures while her mother worked herself into exhaustion. The universe had handed them an opening, but it had to be handled with absolute care. One wrong move, and Sarah would see threat instead of gratitude. The brothers leaned close, voices dropping to whispers. Tommy spoke first. We wait for Sarah to arrive, approach, carefully explain everything. Jackson shook his head. Approaching in front of her daughter might seem like intimidation. 8 men surrounding a woman and child. Raymond offered a third option. We speak to the girl, establish we're not threats. Then when Sarah arrives, the daughter can vouch for us. Cole weighed the options. All risky, all potential for misunderstanding. But doing nothing meant wasting this opportunity, and opportunities to settle 12-year-old debts didn't come often. I'll talk to her. Alone, rest of you stay seated, stay calm. I'll keep it simple. Mention we're friends of someone her mother helped. Nothing specific, nothing that could scare her. The brothers nodded agreement. Cole stood again, walked back to the girl's table, and the girl looked up with that same fearless curiosity. Miss, I don't mean to interrupt your drawing, but I wanted to ask you something. Okay. Your mother does. She have friends who ride motorcycles. The girl tilted her head, considering the question with surprising seriousness. I don't think so. Mom doesn't have many friends. She's always working. Why? Because a long time ago, your mother helped someone I know, someone in my family, and we've been trying to find her to say thank you. Her name's Sarah Chen Martinez, right? The girl's eyes widened slightly. You know my mom. I know of her. I know she did something very brave once. Something that saved a life. And men like me, we believe in paying debts. We believe in thanking people who help us. Are you a good person? The question asked with such direct innocence hit harder than any accusation. Cole thought about Michael, about the ways he'd failed, about whether good men let their sons die of overdoses because they were too proud to see pain. His voice came out rougher than intended. I try to be, don't always succeed, but I keep my promises. And I promised my brother that if we ever found your mother, we'd thank her properly. The girl seemed to consider this. She looked at the other men sitting at the table, then back at Cole, and something in her expression shifted. Decision made. My mom should be here soon. She's usually late because work is busy, but she always comes. You could talk to her then. That'd be good, thank you. Cole returned to his table. The brothers waited in silence, watching the door, watching the girl, watching the clock advance towards 7 p.m. At 7:15, a blue sedan pulled into the parking lot. Sarah Chen Martinez climbed out, moving with the exhausted efficiency of someone who'd been on her feet for 9 hours straight. She walked toward the diner entrance, and Cole saw her notice the motorcycles parked out front. Her stride hitched just slightly, wariness entering her posture. She pushed through the door, and her eyes went immediately to her daughter, checking for safety. The girl waved, smiling. Sarah's shoulders relaxed a fraction. Then she scanned the diner, assessing threats, and her gaze landed on the 8 men in Iron Brotherhood cuts sitting at the back table. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Sarah walked to her daughter's table, placed herself between the child and the bikers, and her voice carried combat-hardened authority. Emma, honey, get your things. We're leaving. The girl, Emma, looked confused. But Mom, this man knows you. He said you helped his friend once. Sarah's eyes snapped to Cole, and he saw calculation happening behind her expression. Fight or flight, protect her daughter, figure out the threat level. Cole stood slowly, hands visible, voice calm. Ms. Chen Martinez, I'm Cole Davidson, president of Iron Brotherhood MC. We're not here to cause problems. We're here because 12 years ago you saved Marcus Sullivan's life in Las Vegas, and we never got to say thank you. Sarah went completely still, the name Marcus Sullivan landing like a stone in still water. Her voice came out, carefully controlled. I don't know what you're talking about. Vegas, July 2012. Marcus came to your motel room bleeding from a beating. You pulled him inside, hid him, kept him alive for 3 days, while the men who wanted him dead searched room by room. You faced them down, told them you hadn't seen anything, saved his life at risk of your own. Sarah's hand moved slightly, protective instinct, pulling Emma closer. But she didn't run, didn't deny. She just stared at Cole with eyes that had seen combat and knew how to read danger. Marcus survived because of you. He's alive today because you did what almost nobody would do. And by the code we live by, that means you're owed. Protection, gratitude, whatever you need. The debt passes from Marcus to the club. We've been looking for you for 3 months, just to say this thank you. The silence stretched. Emma looked between her mother and Cole, trying to understand what was happening. The other customers had gone quiet again, sensing something significant unfolding. Sarah's eyes never left Cole's face. She was reading him the way soldiers read each other, looking for the truth behind words. And whatever she saw must have aligned because her posture shifted just slightly from defensive to uncertain. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. How is Marcus alive? Sober. Running a motorcycle repair shop in Phoenix. Teaching kids to fix bikes, giving them alternatives to gang life. He's a good man because you gave him a reason to keep living. Sarah's eyes glistened. She blinked hard, refusing tears. Emma watched her mother with confused concern, reaching up to touch Sarah's arm. Mom, are you okay? Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. She pulled out a chair, sat down heavily, and looked at Cole with exhaustion and something that might have been relief. I didn't think anyone remembered. I thought, I just did what needed doing. I didn't expect thanks. That's why you deserve it. Raymond stood, walked slowly to Sarah's table, and lowered himself into a chair with careful respect. Ma'am, I'm Raymond Caldwell, served in Vietnam, Marines, and I know what you did because I know what that kind of courage costs. Most people turn away. You didn't. That makes you family. Emma's eyes went wide. Mom, you saved someone. Sarah looked at her daughter, and Cole saw the moment a mother decided what truth to share. A long time ago, honey, before you were born, I helped someone who was hurt very badly. Like your army job. Sort of like that. Cole pulled something from his pocket. The photograph Marcus had given him, the one taken in 2012, just before Marcus left Las Vegas. Young Marcus smiling despite the healing wounds, and beside him a woman in her mid-20s with dark hair and determined eyes. Sarah Chen. Before she became Sarah Chen Martinez, before she had a daughter, when she was still young enough to think saving one life might balance the ledger. He placed the photo on the table. Sarah stared at it, and a single tear finally escaped, tracking down her cheek before she could stop it. Marcus kept this, only thing he carried through every ride since, said it reminded him that good people still existed. Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. Emma hugged her mother tight, child's instinct to comfort, and Sarah held her daughter like she was the only thing keeping her grounded. Cole gave them a moment. Then he laid out the rest. We came to offer you something. Protection under Iron Brotherhood Code. Anyone sees your tattoo, the one Marcus gave you, they know you're under our watch. Anyone threatens you or yours, they answer to us. It's the old way. It's how we honor debts that matter. Sarah shook her head slowly. I don't need, ma'am, with respect you do. You work 2 jobs. You raise a child alone. You're exhausted. We can help, not charity, debt payment. There's a difference. I don't want to be involved with, Raymond cut in gentle but firm. You're already involved. The moment you saved Marcus, you became part of this. You can accept our protection or refuse it, but either way, we're watching over you. That's the code. That's the promise. We're just asking permission to do it properly. Sarah looked at Emma, then at the 8 men sitting in formation, waiting for her decision. She seemed to be weighing something, calculating odds, trying to figure out if this was real or trap. Emma spoke up, voice clear in the quiet diner. Mom, I think they're telling the truth. I've been drawing them for 20 minutes. Their hands aren't lying hands. Sarah looked at her daughter with surprised affection. You can tell that from hands. Hands tell stories, Mom. You taught me that. Sarah let out a breath that sounded like surrender, the kind that came from carrying weight too long alone. She nodded once slow, and her voice came out raw. Okay. Thank you. Cole felt something loosen in his chest. Debt acknowledged, gratitude accepted, the old code maintained. But then Emma's backpack started ringing. A phone inside buzzing urgent. Emma pulled it out, looked at the screen, answered with child's brightness. Mom, but you're right. Oh, the other mom. Hi, Mrs. Garrison. She listened, face going confused, then worried. She held the phone out to Sarah. Mom, it's Mrs. Garrison from your work. She says it's important. Sarah took the phone, and Cole watched her face drain of color as she listened. Her voice went tight. What do you mean, trouble? What kind of... She stood abruptly, nearly knocking over her chair. Her hand gripped the phone so hard, her knuckles went white. I'm on my way. Emma, stay here. She hung up, looked at Cole with desperation cutting through her exhaustion. Someone's at my house. Mrs. Garrison lives next door. She saw men trying to break in. She called police, but they're taking too long, and she thinks they're still there. And I can't. Cole was already moving. The brothers stood as one unit, instinct and training synchronized. We'll take you, all of us. 8 bikes faster than your car, and nobody's getting near your house with us there. Sarah hesitated only a heartbeat. Then she nodded. Raymond looked at Emma. Young lady, you ride with me. Safest bike, best rider. Your mom rides with Cole. We move fast. We stay together. We end this. Clear. Emma's eyes went huge, but she nodded. Sarah grabbed her daughter, hugged her fierce and fast. Stay with Raymond. Do exactly what he says. I love you. I love you too, Mom. The brothers moved like coordinated machinery. Out the door onto bikes, Emma secured behind Raymond, with a helmet that swallowed her head. Sarah behind Cole, with her arms locked around his waist. Engines roared to life, and Mr. Garrison stood in the diner doorway, watching 8 motorcycles tear out of his parking lot, carrying 2 civilians toward whatever waited at a Flagstaff residential address. Cole didn't look back. He just rode, feeling Sarah's grip tighten as he accelerated, feeling the weight of an old debt finally being paid, and hoping they'd reach her house before whoever was there decided to stick around. Highway 89 stretched black under desert stars, and Cole pushed the Harley faster than wisdom recommended. Sarah's arms locked around his ribs like steel cables, her breath hot against his shoulder blade through the leather. Behind them, 7 more engines screamed in formation, headlights carving white tunnels through Arizona darkness. Emma rode behind Raymond, helmet bouncing against his back, with each bump, small hands gripping his cut, with the desperate trust of a child who'd been told this was safety. Raymond kept one hand on the throttle, the other occasionally touching Emma's wrist, checking, reassuring the instinct of a man who'd carried wounded soldiers through jungle mud 50 years ago and never forgot how to protect the vulnerable. Cole's radio crackled. Tommy's voice cut through wind noise. "Boss, we got company. Black SUV 3 cars back, keeping pace." Cole checked his mirror. Headlights maintaining distance, not closing, not falling back. Either law enforcement or something else. He made the calculation fast. "Stay formation. If they follow to the house, we deal with it there. Right now, Sarah's home matters more." Sarah's grip tightened at the mention of her house. Cole felt her heart hammering against his spine, panic bleeding through leather and cotton. She'd been a combat medic, had seen worse than home invasion. But combat medic training didn't prepare you for threats against your child's sanctuary, the place where safety was supposed to be guaranteed. The speedometer hit 80. Residential Flagstaff passed in blurred streetlights. Dogs barked at the thunder of 8 Harleys tearing through quiet neighborhoods. Porch lights flicked on. Faces appeared in windows. Let them watch. Let them call it in. The brothers had one mission right now, and public opinion ranked somewhere below irrelevant. Cole's mind kept circling back to Emma's words in the diner. Hands tell stories. The kid had read him in 30 seconds, seen the sadness he thought he had buried under leather and engine noise. Michael had been like that, once observant, beyond his years, noticing things adults tried to hide. Cole had taught him to stop noticing, to stop feeling, to be harder than the world required. Worst lesson he'd ever taught. Sarah's voice cut through his thoughts, mouth close to his ear so he could hear over wind. Left on Aspen, 3rd house on the right, blue with white trim. Cole signaled. The formation banked left in perfect synchronization, years of riding together creating the kind of wordless communication that kept men alive. They rolled onto Aspen Street doing 60 in a 35 zone, and ahead Cole saw exactly what he'd expected. Police cruiser parked in front of a small blue house, lights off, 2 officers on the porch talking to a middle-aged woman in a bathrobe. What he didn't expect, no broken windows, no kicked-in door, no signs of forced entry. The house sat intact and quiet. Cole pulled into the curb. The other bikes followed, engines cutting off in sequence. Sudden silence pressed down like physical weight after the sustained roar. Sarah was off the bike before Cole killed the engine, running toward the officers with controlled panic in her stride. Raymond helped Emma down, kept her hand in his, blocking her from moving forward until they understood the situation. Cole approached behind Sarah, hearing fragments of conversation. "Thought I saw someone trying windows, but when I came outside, they were gone." The neighbor woman explaining, nervous eyes flicking between Sarah and the 8 bikers now standing in her front yard. One officer, young maybe 30, turned to face the new arrivals. His hand moved toward his service weapon, instinct and training. But he didn't draw. Smart. Drawing on 8 bikers without clear threat was how officers started situations they couldn't control. Cole raised both hands, palms out, voice calm and clear. "Officer, we're with Miss Chen Martinez. She received a call about possible intruders at her home. We provided escort to ensure her safety." The officer's partner, older, weathered, had eyes that recognized what he was seeing. Veteran, Cole guessed, someone who'd served, who understood the difference between motorcycle clubs and street gangs. This officer addressed Cole with careful respect. "Your Iron Brotherhood, Flagstaff, Chapter 10. "Yes, sir, I'm Cole Davidson, club president. These are my brothers. We're friends of Miss Chen Martinez. We mean no disrespect to your authority." The older officer studied the assembled bikers, then looked at Sarah. His voice gentled. "Ma'am, is this accurate? These men are with you." Sarah nodded, breathing hard. Emma had broken free from Raymond's grip, running to her mother, wrapping arms around Sarah's waist. Sarah held her daughter while answering, "Yes, they're friends. They were helping me get home." The officer turned back to Cole. "Mrs. Henderson here called in a suspicious person report. said she saw someone testing windows at the Chen Martinez residence approximately 45 minutes ago. We've checked the perimeter. No signs of forced entry, no individuals located on premises. Likely a would-be burglar who moved on when he saw the neighbor watching. Sarah's shoulders sagged relief and residual adrenaline making her unsteady. Emma looked up at her mother with questions forming, but children learned fast to stay quiet when adults were handling business. Cole addressed the older officer. With your permission, sir, my brothers and I would like to do a thorough check of the property. Ensure no one's hiding, that all entry points are secure. We have experience with this kind of work. The younger officer started to object. His partner silenced him with a look. Old soldiers recognizing their own making calculations about who could do this job better. The older officer's voice carried decision weight. I'll accompany you. My partner will stay with Miss Chen Martinez and her daughter. Cole nodded. Jackson, Tommy, and Raymond fell in behind Cole and the officer. They circled the house methodically, checking windows, examining doors, looking for tool marks, or attempts at jimmying locks. The property showed wear from age and deferred maintenance, but nothing indicating recent intrusion. Behind the house, Jackson crouched by a basement window. His massive frame folded with surprising grace, fingers tracing fresh scratches on the window frame. He looked up at Cole, and the unspoken communication passed between them. Someone had definitely tried this window. The officer saw it too. He knelt beside Jackson, pulled out a flashlight, examined the marks. Professional assessment in his voice. Screwdriver probably. Amateur work. Got scared off before completing entry. Raymond spoke quietly. Or got smart. Realized the risk wasn't worth it. The officer stood, dusted off his knees, met Cole's eyes with new calculation. Mr. Davidson, I'm going to be direct with you. This neighborhood's had 6 attempted break-ins in the last 3 months, targeting single women living alone, particularly those who work multiple jobs and keep predictable schedules. We've increased patrols, but we can't be everywhere. Cole understood what wasn't being said. Police resources stretched thin, bad guys patient, and methodical women like Sarah vulnerable, no matter how strong they'd been in previous lives. The officer continued, if you and your associates are genuinely looking after Ms. Chen Martinez, that's not something I'm inclined to interfere with. But I need your word there won't be vigilante violence. We have laws in this city. You have my word. We're protectors, not executioners. Anyone comes after Sarah or her daughter will contact you first. But we will make sure they understand this house is watched. The officer considered this, then extended his hand. Tom Peterson, Army 88 to 96, First Gulf War. Cole shook proper respect in his grip. Cole Davidson, too young for Vietnam, too old for Iraq, but my brothers served in both. Then you understand duty and limits. Yes, sir, we stay inside both. They returned to the front yard. Sarah stood with Emma tucked against her side. The neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, having retreated to her own porch to watch the proceedings with fascinated nervousness. The younger officer looked like he wanted to arrest someone on principle, but couldn't identify probable cause. Officer Peterson addressed Sarah. Ma'am, I recommend you consider a security system. The department can provide information on affordable options. In the meantime, you have my direct number. Any concerns you call. Sarah accepted his card with shaking hands. Thank you, officer. The police departed cruiser, rolling away slow enough to send a message, we're leaving, but we're watching. The neighbors could interpret it however they wanted. Cole just cared that Sarah's house showed no immediate threats. Tommy approached Sarah with mechanic's directness. Ma'am, your locks are builder-grade garbage, easy to pick, easier to bump. We can upgrade them tonight. Takes an hour, costs nothing. You'd sleep safer. Sarah started to refuse. Raymond cut her off before she could speak. Accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You've been carrying this load alone too long. Let someone else lift for a while. Something in Sarah's face crumbled, the exhaustion, overwhelming pride. She nodded. The brothers moved into action. Tommy and Jackson went to their bikes, retrieved toolkits that could rebuild engines or replace door locks with equal facility. Cole stationed young Danny and 2 others around the property perimeter. Eyes out warning system established. Raymond took Emma inside, away from tools and adult conversation, finding Disney movies on an old television and making popcorn like he'd done this 1,000 times before. Sarah stood in her front yard, watching 8 bikers transform her home security and the tears finally came. Silent streaming released from whatever vault she'd locked them in. Cole gave her space, just stood nearby in case she needed something, and when she finally spoke, her voice carried 12 years of accumulated weight. Why are you doing this? Because Marcus asked us to find you, because you saved him when nobody else would, because the code says debts don't expire. I didn't save him for reward. I saved him because it was right. We know that's exactly why you deserve this. Sarah wiped her eyes with the heel of her hand combat medic gesture, efficient and practiced. She looked at Cole with the kind of assessment soldiers give each other. You lost someone. I can see it. The way you move, the way you watch Emma, you're seeing someone else. Cole's throat tightened. He hadn't expected this woman to read him as easily as her daughter had. My son, Michael, 3 years ago. How? Overdose, fentanyl. He was 24. Sarah's expression shifted, understanding flooding in. She knew that specific pain, that particular failure. I'm sorry. Me too. Did he ask for help? The question landed like a blade between ribs. Cole forced himself to answer yes. I told him to be stronger, to handle it, to stop being weak. And now you know that was wrong. Now I know everything was wrong. Sarah reached out, touched his arm, briefly. Combat medic, comfort, the kind that acknowledged pain without trying to fix it. We do what we know how to do until we learn better. Your son knew you loved him. Even if you said it wrong, he knew. Cole wanted to believe that, needed to believe it. He just nodded, not trusting words. Inside the house, Emma's laughter drifted through open windows. Some Disney princess singing about dreams. Raymond's deep voice humming along off-key. Normal domestic sounds that Cole hadn't heard since Michael was young, before everything went sideways, back when families meant safety instead of failure. Tommy finished the front door lock. New deadbolt reinforced strike plate, the kind that required serious tools to defeat. Jackson moved to the back door, making similar upgrades. The basement window with the scratch marks got special attention, security bar installation, window sensor that would trigger alarm if opened. By 9 p.m., the work was complete. Sarah's house had been transformed from easy target to hardened position. Nothing stopped determined professionals, but determined professionals didn't target single mothers in Flagstaff suburbs. The brothers had made this house cost more than it was worth, and that math was all that mattered. Cole gathered everyone in the front yard for final instructions. Sarah and Emma stood on the porch listening. Danny and Mitch, you take first watch. 4-hour shifts parked across the street, eyes on the house. Anyone approaches you, call me. No confrontations unless absolutely necessary. Tommy relieves you at 1 a.m. Jackson takes over at 5. We rotate until we're certain this house is secure. Sarah descended the porch steps, arms crossed. You're going to camp out here all night. Yes, ma'am, until we know you're safe. That's not necessary. The police said it was probably random. 6 attempted break-ins in 3 months and all targeting women like you. That's not random, that's pattern. And patterns mean predators. We're making sure this particular prey is no longer easy. Sarah looked like she wanted to argue, but combat veterans understood tactical reality. Someone had tried her windows tonight. Someone might try again. 8 bikers providing security beat hoping police patrols caught lightning in a bottle. Her resistance collapsed into acceptance. Okay, thank you. I don't know how to repay this. You already did. Vegas 2012. Everything since is just us catching up. Emma appeared at Sarah's side, clutching Raymond's hand. The old Marine had won her over completely, and she looked up at him with the kind of trust children reserve for grandfathers. Mr. Raymond, will you come back tomorrow? Raymond's weathered face softened into something approaching gentle. If your mama says it's okay, I'll come back every day until we're sure you're safe. Emma turned to Sarah with pleading eyes. Sarah looked at Raymond, saw what Cole saw, an old warrior who'd lost too much and found purpose in protecting what remained. She nodded permission. The brothers began mounting their bikes, but before engines started, another sound cut through the night. Single Harley approaching fast, riding hard, the distinctive note of someone pushing limits. The bike turned onto Aspen Street, headlights swinging towards Sarah's house. The rider wore no colors, no cut, just plain leather. But the way he moved, the way he rode, marked him as family. He pulled to the curb, cut the engine, removed his helmet. Marcus Sullivan looked older than his 41 years. Gray threaded through dark hair, lines carved deep around eyes that had seen death and decided life mattered more. He stood beside his bike, staring at Sarah, and the distance between them held 12 years of silence. Sarah's hands covered her mouth. Her voice came out broken. Hawk. Marcus took 3 steps forward, stopped, eyes drinking in the sight of the woman who'd saved him. Hey, Doc. Been looking for you a long time. Sarah moved without conscious decision, crossed the yard in 5 running steps, and then she was hugging Marcus, both of them, holding on like drowning people, grabbing life preservers, 12 years of wondering if their actions had mattered, dissolving into this moment of confirmed reality. Emma watched her mother embrace a strange man, confusion and concern warring in her expression. Cole knelt beside the girl, keeping his voice gentle. That's Marcus, the man your mom saved. He's a good person. He's family now. Mom doesn't usually hug people. Sometimes people need to know they made a difference. Your mom saved Marcus's life. She's just learning she did it right. Marcus and Sarah finally separated, both wiping eyes, neither embarrassed by tears. Marcus looked at Emma and something shifted in his expression. Wonder maybe, or recognition of legacy. You're her daughter. Emma nodded, suddenly shy. Marcus crouched to her level, proper respect in his posture. Your mom's the bravest person I ever met. When I was hurt and everyone else walked away, she pulled me inside. Saved my life. Everything good that's happened to me since, that's because of her. Which means it's because of you too. Because you're why she stayed strong. Emma processed this with visible thought, then asked the question that mattered most to 9-year-olds. Are you going to hurt my mom? Never. I'm going to make sure nobody ever hurts her. That's a promise. Okay. Promises matter. Yeah, kid, they really do. Sarah pulled Emma close, overwhelmed mother protecting her child while simultaneously allowing trust to build. She looked at the assembled bikers, at Marcus, at her reinforced house, and the men volunteering to guard it through the night. I don't understand this world. Your world. Motorcycles and codes and debts that last 12 years. But I understand loyalty. I understand people who keep their word. So thank you, all of you, for remembering, for caring, for this. Cole spoke for the brotherhood. We're old men living by old rules in a world that mostly forgot them. Honor, duty, protection of the vulnerable. Maybe we're dinosaurs. Maybe we're the last of something dying. But as long as we're breathing, we're keeping the code. And you're part of that code now. Marcus added his piece. Sarah, I need to tell you something. After Vegas, after you saved me, I was lost. My wife had died. I wanted to follow her. The beating, the blood, that was me being careless. Part of me hoping they'd finish it. But you wouldn't let me quit. You fought for me, told me I was someone's everything. That stuck. I found my sister's kids, my niece and nephew, orphans from a car accident. I took them in, raised them. They're 14 and 12 now, good kids, honor students. They exist because you made me live. So when I say I owe you, I mean you're the reason my family exists. Sarah's tears started fresh. Emma hugged her mother tighter. The moment stretched sacred and raw, the kind of emotional honesty men like Cole had been taught to bury, but was learning might be the most important thing to resurrect. Raymond cleared his throat, breaking the silence. Marcus, you staying for watch rotation? Until dawn, if needed. Good, we'll need the numbers. The brothers finalized positions. Danny and Mitch took first watch, parking across the street with clear sightlines. The rest prepared to depart, engines firing up in sequence. But before leaving, each man approached Sarah, offering something. Tommy handed her a card with his phone number. Car trouble, home repairs, anything mechanical. You call. No charge, that's family rate. Jackson gave Emma a small knife, folding blade, child-safe, emergency tool. Your mom can teach you when to use it. Raymond presented his leather Bible, the one he'd carried through Vietnam. For when the weight gets heavy, it helped me, might help you. Young Danny offered a letter-sealed envelope addressed to Emma. Read it when you're older. It's about finding purpose. Cole was last. He pulled a photograph from his wallet, the picture of Michael at 17 grinning on Cole's old Harley. He handed it to Sarah. My son, Michael, he'd be 27 now. He struggled with addiction. I handled it wrong. Maybe you can learn from my mistakes. Love loud. Ask for help. Don't teach your kid to hide pain. Sarah took the photo with reverent hands. He looks like you. He was better than me. I just didn't see it until too late. You see it now. That's what matters. Cole wanted to believe her. He nodded, turned to leave, but Emma's voice stopped him. Mr. Cole, your daughter, the one you haven't talked to, you should call her tonight. Cole looked at this 9-year-old child who saw too much, understood too deeply. Yeah, I should. Promise. The word carried weight beyond its syllables. Cole met Emma's eyes and saw expectation, accountability, the kind of pure faith that demanded adults be better than their fears. I promise. Good. Promises matter. The brothers departed, leaving Danny and Mitch on watch, Marcus standing guard on Sarah's porch, and inside the small blue house, a combat veteran finally allowing herself to believe that asking for help wasn't surrender, but strategy. Cole rode toward the clubhouse with Raymond beside him, both men processing the evening in the way old soldiers processed everything. Silence first, words when necessary. 3 blocks from Sarah's house, Raymond's voice cut through helmet comm. You're going to call Lisa. Kid made me promise. Kids don't let you escape promises. They remember. Michael used to do that. Hold me accountable. I taught him not to. So teach Lisa different. Not too late while you're both breathing. Cole pulled into the clubhouse parking lot, killed the engine, sat on his bike under Arizona stars thinking about phone calls and second chances and whether men who'd failed their sons deserved opportunities with daughters. His phone sat in his pocket, Lisa's number programmed, but undialed for 2 years. Raymond dismounted, stretched vertebrae, cracking. I'm heading in. You need anything? Courage. That's the one thing you already got. You just got to aim it at family instead of strangers. Raymond disappeared inside. Cole sat alone with his phone, his fear in the memory of a 9-year-old girl saying promises matter. He pulled up Lisa's contact, stared at her name, remembered Michael's funeral, Lisa crying beside him, both of them drowning in separate grief, unable to reach across the space their family had become. He pressed call. 3 rings. 4. Cole started planning the voicemail he'd leave when Lisa's voice cut through, Dad. The word hit like physical impact. How long since she'd called him that, hey peanut? Silence. Then carefully, you haven't called me that in 10 years. I know, I'm sorry. Why now? What changed? Cole looked at the photograph of Michael still sitting on his bike's dashboard, then thought about Emma studying hands and finding truth. I met a kid today, 9 years old. She reminded me that it's not too late, not if we're still breathing. Michael's been gone 3 years, Dad. I know, and I missed him while he was alive. I won't miss you too. Not anymore. Lisa's voice cracked. I have a son. Tyler, he's 4. You've never met him. The information landed like a blow. Cole had a grandson, 4 years old, and he'd been so buried in grief over Michael that he'd missed 4 years of Tyler's life, missed the chance to be the grandfather he'd failed to be as father. His voice came out rough. I want to meet him. Please, I want to do better. I want to be the kind of grandfather I should have been as a dad. Just like that. After 2 years of silence. Not just like that. I know I have to earn it, but I'm asking for the chance. Sunday dinner. I'll come early. I'll stay late. I'll answer questions. I'll apologize properly. Just let me try. The line went quiet. Cole could hear breathing calculation, the sound of a daughter deciding whether her father deserved forgiveness. Finally, Sunday, 5 p.m., don't be late. I'll be early. And Dad, promises matter. Cole's throat closed. Those words, the same ones Emma had used, the same ones Michael had probably wanted to say. But Cole hadn't let him. Yeah, they really do. See you Sunday. The call ended. Cole sat on his bike in the empty parking lot, and for the first time in 3 years, he cried. Not silent tears, not private grief. Real crying, the kind that came from breaking and rebuilding simultaneously, from recognizing failure and receiving grace in the same breath. Raymond appeared in the clubhouse doorway, saw Cole's shoulders shaking, and didn't approach. Old Marine wisdom, some battles men fight alone. But he stayed visible, present, the way brothers were supposed to be present. Watching, waiting, ready to help if called. Eventually, Cole wiped his face, dismounted, walked inside. Raymond handed him a whiskey without asking. Cole drank it in one swallow, felt the burn, welcomed the pain that meant he was still alive enough to feel. You called her? Yeah, Sunday dinner. Meeting my grandson for the first time. Good, that's good, brother. Cole nodded. He thought about Sarah saving Marcus, about debts that lasted 12 years, about Emma reading souls through hands, about Michael dying because Cole taught him wrong, about Tyler growing up without a grandfather because Cole was too proud to admit failure. He thought about second chances and whether men like him deserve them. Raymond seemed to read his mind. We're old warriors, Cole. We've made mistakes, we've lost people, but as long as we're breathing, we get to try again. That's the code too. Not just protection and honor, redemption, growth, being better tomorrow than we were today. You believe that I survived Vietnam, came home to a country that hated me, found brotherhood in men who understood, rebuilt a life from ashes. Yeah, I believe it, because I lived it. Cole set down the empty glass. Tomorrow he'd organize security rotations for Sarah's house. He'd make sure Emma got to school safe. He'd start planning Sunday dinner with Lisa and Tyler. He'd take all the lessons he'd learned from failure and try finally to apply them to family. But tonight he just sat with Raymond in the quiet clubhouse, two old soldiers who'd seen too much death and were learning slowly to choose life. Outside across town, Danny and Mitch kept watch on a blue house where a combat veteran and her daughter slept under protection of men who remembered what honor meant. Marcus sat on the porch, leather jacket wrapped against desert cold eyes, scanning Shadow's guardian angel fulfilling a 12-year-old promise. And Emma lay in bed clutching Raymond's Bible, thinking about hands that told stories and bikers who kept their word, and the strange comfort of knowing that scary-looking people could be the safest people in the world. The night passed quiet. No intruders, no threats, just old warriors keeping watch while those they protected found rest. Dawn would bring new challenges, but tonight the code held. Sunday morning arrived with Arizona sun burning through Cole's clubhouse window at 6 a.m. He'd been awake since 4, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing conversations that couldn't be rehearsed, trying to prepare for a moment that defied preparation. Meeting your grandson for the first time after missing his entire life didn't come with scripts. Raymond found him in the kitchen nursing coffee strong enough to strip paint. The old Marine poured his own cup, settled into the chair across from Cole with the comfortable silence of men who'd shared enough years to skip pleasantries. You ready for this? Cole's hands wrapped around the mug like it could anchor him. No, but I'm going anyway. That's all readiness is, showing up scared. What if Tyler hates me? What if Lisa changed her mind? Raymond's expression held the patience of someone who'd counseled frightened young Marines before their first combat. Then you show up anyway. You apologize anyway. You try anyway. That's how you rebuild what broke. Cole nodded, the gesture carrying more weight than agreement. He thought about Michael, about all the times his son had needed him and gotten lectures instead of listening. About Emma seeing sadness in his hands and speaking truth no adult had dared voice. About second chances being gifts you didn't earn, but accepted with gratitude. His phone buzzed. Text from Lisa. Still on for today? Cole typed back with unsteady fingers. Wouldn't miss it. What can I bring? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, just yourself. That's all Tyler wants. The words carved something open in Cole's chest. A 4-year-old boy who'd never met his grandfather but wanted to. Innocence believing in possibility. Cole had spent 3 years assuming Lisa's silence meant rejection when maybe it had just meant waiting for him to be ready. He texted back, I'll be there at 4:30. 5 p.m. Dad, don't be early. I need time to prepare him. Cole understood. Lisa was protecting her son the way Sarah protected Emma, the way all good parents built buffers between children and potential pain. He'd lost that right through absence. Now he had to earn it back through presence. The morning passed in mechanical routine. Cole showered, trimmed his beard with more care than usual, found clean jeans without oil stains, and a shirt that didn't advertise motorcycle brands. He stood in front of the mirror, trying to see what a 4-year-old would see: tall man with gray hair and hard eyes, and hands that had built things and broken things in equal measure. Would Tyler be scared? Would he cry? Would Lisa regret this before it started? Tommy arrived at the clubhouse around noon with news from the overnight watch. Sarah's house had stayed quiet. No prowlers, no attempts, no incidents. Marcus had stayed on the porch until sunrise, then gone inside for coffee when Sarah invited him. They talked for 2 hours while Emma made breakfast, simple eggs and toast that Emma insisted on serving to Uncle Marcus with ceremonial seriousness. The kids adopted him, Tommy reported grinning, calls him Uncle Marcus like they've known each other forever. Sarah's more relaxed than I've seen her. Having protection, having backup, it's changing something. Cole absorbed this, filing it under evidence that the old code still worked when applied with intention. 12 years ago, Sarah had saved Marcus. Now Marcus was helping raise her daughter through simple presence, male figure in a household that had been missing one. The debt cycling forward into something larger than transaction. We're doing the formal ceremony Tuesday night, Cole decided. Sarah and Emma official recognition as Iron Brotherhood family. Patches oaths the full ritual. Make it clear to anyone watching that this household has protection that goes beyond casual friendship. Raymond approved. Traditional way. Your father would have done the same. Cole thought about his father, dead 20 years now, Korean War veteran, who taught him about honor and duty and keeping promises even when it cost you everything. The old man would have approved of this, would have recognized Sarah as the kind of warrior who deserved acknowledgement, regardless of gender or civilian status. The afternoon crawled. Cole tried to work on his bike, gave up after dropping the same wrench 3 times. Tried to read, couldn't focus past the first paragraph. Finally, he just sat on the clubhouse steps, watching traffic pass and thinking about grandfathers and second chances and whether men who'd failed their sons could succeed with their grandsons. At 4:15, he mounted his Harley. The ride to Lisa's house took 12 minutes, but Cole stretched it to 20 circling blocks, delaying arrival terror and hope warring in his chest. Lisa lived in East Flagstaff, modest neighborhood with swing sets and minivans, the kind of place where Iron Brotherhood cuts attracted nervous attention. He parked on the street at exactly 4:55, 5 minutes early, despite instructions, unable to make himself wait longer. Lisa's house was pale yellow with white shutters, flower boxes under windows, a child's bike on the porch. Normal, safe, everything Cole's life had never been. He walked to the door, each step requiring conscious decision. Knocked 3 times solid, but not aggressive. Lisa opened the door. 32 years old now, looking so much like her mother that Cole's breath caught. Same eyes, same stubborn chin, same expression of guarded hope mixed with protective caution. She wore jeans and a sweater, no makeup, hair pulled back, and she looked at Cole with the complexity of someone who'd loved and hated and mourned all in the same relationship. Hi, Dad. Hey, Peanut. They stood in the doorway, neither moving, the space between them, holding 2 years of silence and 28 years of complicated history. Finally, Lisa stepped back. Come in. Tyler's in the living room. He's nervous. Me too. Lisa almost smiled at that. She led him through a hallway decorated with family photos, pictures Cole had never seen. Lisa's wedding, pregnancy. Photos, Tyler's birthday parties, holidays. A complete life he'd missed while drowning in grief over Michael. The living room held toys scattered across a carpet-animated movie, paused on television, and on the couch, a small boy with dark hair and Michael's eyes. Tyler looked at Cole with the solemn curiosity of children meeting strangers who matter. He clutched a stuffed dinosaur armor against uncertainty, and his voice came out small. Are you my grandpa? Cole's throat closed. He managed to nod, not trusting words yet. Tyler considered this information then. Mommy says you're sad because Uncle Michael died. I never met him. Was he nice? The question asked with such innocent directness shattered something in Cole. He crossed the room, lowered himself to Tyler's level, and found his voice through sheer force of will. He was the best. He was funny and smart and kind. He would have loved you so much. Mommy says I look like him. You do, you really do. Tyler processed this, looked at his mother for confirmation. Lisa nodded, eyes bright with unshed tears. Tyler turned back to Cole. Do you want to see my dinosaurs? I have 17. And just like that, the ice broke. Tyler launched into enthusiastic description of his dinosaur collection, pulling Cole by the hand to his bedroom, showing him each figure with detailed backstory. Cole followed, overwhelmed by this small person who'd somehow decided his grandfather was safe, who'd offered acceptance without conditions or prerequisites. Lisa watched from the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. But she didn't intervene, didn't cut the visit short. Just let her son and her father figure out what connection looked like. They played dinosaurs for an hour. Tyler narrated complex scenarios involving T-Rex and Triceratops, while Cole provided sound effects and asked questions that made Tyler explain his reasoning. It felt surreal, this domestic moment, this normal grandfather behavior. Cole had forgotten how to do normal, but Tyler made it easy, demanded nothing except presence and attention. Dinner was spaghetti, Tyler's favorite. They ate at a small kitchen table, Tyler chattering about preschool, while Lisa asked careful questions about Cole's life. Nothing heavy, just surface details. What kind of motorcycle did he ride? How long had he been club president? Was it true he'd served too young for Vietnam, too old for Iraq? But my father served Korea. Raymond served Vietnam. Most of the brothers saw combat somewhere. Lisa absorbed this. So you're all veterans. Veterans or veteran families. Men who understand duty, code. And this code involves helping Sarah Martinez. Cole met his daughter's eyes. 12 years ago, Sarah saved Marcus's life when nobody else would. By our code, that debt passes to the club. We protect her now, her and Emma. That's non-negotiable. Emma's the little girl, 9 years old. Yeah, smart kid, observant. She's the one who told me to call you. Lisa's expression shifted, surprise breaking through guard. A 9-year-old told you to call me. Said I should talk to my daughter because promises matter. She's right. Tyler interrupted, oblivious to adult subtext. Grandpa, after dinner, can we watch dinosaur movie? Cole looked at Lisa, asking permission. She nodded slowly. They watched animated dinosaurs adventure across the screen. Tyler snuggled against Cole's side, small, warm weight that felt like redemption. Lisa sat in the chair across from them, and Cole caught her wiping her eyes twice. Not sad crying, something else. Maybe relief that her father was capable of gentleness, that Tyler could have a grandfather after all. When the movie ended, Tyler had fallen asleep against Cole's chest. Lisa came over, looked down at her son, and her voice came out thick. He's been asking about you for a year, since Michael died. Wanted to know where his grandpa was, why you didn't visit. I didn't know what to tell him. I'm sorry, I got lost in grief. Used Michael's death as excuse to stop trying. He was my brother, I grieved too. But I still had Tyler to raise. I know. You're stronger than I was, than I am. Lisa sat beside them on the couch, careful not to wake Tyler. Why now? Really? Cole thought about Emma reading his hands, about Sarah accepting help after years alone, about Raymond saying redemption was possible while you were still breathing. Because a 9-year-old girl looked at me and saw sadness. And instead of being afraid, she told me to fix it. Kids have this clarity adults lose. They just say what's true. Emma sounds special. She's her mother's daughter. Sarah's a combat veteran. Iraq. Medic. Came home broken, rebuilt herself, works 2 jobs to give Emma stability. She's what strength looks like when nobody's watching. Lisa studied her father. You admire her. I admire anyone who keeps going when they have every reason to quit. Is that what you're doing now? Keeping going? Cole looked down at Tyler, sleeping against him, at the grandson he'd almost missed meeting, at the chance he didn't deserve, but was receiving anyway. I'm trying. Not sure I'm succeeding, but I'm showing up. That's all I know how to do right now. Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Then showing up is everything, Dad. That's what I needed from you after Michael died, just presence. Instead, you disappeared. I know, I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. Start doing better. That's the plan. They sat in silence while Tyler dreamed, peaceful and safe, while Lisa worked through whatever calculations mothers made about protecting their children from damaged grandfathers. Finally, she spoke, you can visit every Sunday, if you want. Tyler would like that. Cole's vision blurred. I'd like that too. And Dad, if you miss even one Sunday without calling, we're done. I won't let you break his heart. Understood. I'll be here. Every Sunday. Unless I'm dead. Promises matter. Yeah, they really do. Cole stayed until 8, then carried sleeping Tyler to bed, tucked him in with the gentleness he'd once used with Michael before forgetting how. Lisa walked him to the door, and before he left, she hugged him, brief and fierce, the kind of hug that said forgiveness was possible but not complete. See you next Sunday, Dad. I'll bring something. What does Tyler like? Dinosaurs, obviously. Cole smiled, first genuine smile in 3 years, and rode home through darkness, feeling lighter than he had since Michael died. One Sunday visit didn't fix everything, but it was a start. and starts mattered when you'd been stuck in ending for so long. Tuesday night arrived with ceremony weight. The Iron Brotherhood gathered at the clubhouse, full membership assembled for the first time in months. Sarah and Emma had been invited, formal requests delivered by Marcus, who'd explained the significance with careful respect. Sarah arrived at 7 wearing clean jeans and a simple blouse, Emma beside her, in a dress she'd insisted on, both of them nervous and uncertain. The clubhouse intimidated civilians, walls covered in motorcycle parts and Brotherhood history, beer signs and leather everywhere. But the brothers had cleaned, organized, made the space presentable for guests who mattered. Cole greeted them at the door, formal president mode engaged. Sarah, Emma, welcome. Thank you for coming. Sarah's military bearings showed through her civilian clothes, spine straight, eyes assessing. Marcus said this was important. It is. We're making formal what's been true since 2012. Your family. Brotherhood recognizes that officially tonight. Emma held her mother's hand tight, taking in 8 large men in leather cuts, standing in formation. Raymond smiled at her gentle grandfather energy that cut through intimidation. Emma smiled back, relaxing slightly. Cole led them to the center of the room. The brothers formed a half circle, Marcus standing beside Sarah like honor guard. Tommy held a leather vest, patches sewn onto it with precision that showed hours of work. Jackson carried a wooden box, contents unknown. Cole spoke with ritual formality, words his father had taught him. Sarah Chen Martinez, 12 years ago you saved Marcus Sullivan's life, pulled him from death, protected him from enemies, gave him reason to keep living. By the code our fathers taught us, that act binds you to Iron Brotherhood, not as member, but as protected family. Tonight we formalize that bond. He gestured to Tommy, who stepped forward, holding the vest. Patches showed Iron Brotherhood colors, but also unique symbols, medical cross, angel wings, the words Sister of the Road embroidered in silver thread. This cut marks you as Brotherhood family. Any member, any chapter, anywhere in the country sees this and knows you're untouchable. Anyone threatens you threatens all of us. That's the promise, that's the code. Sarah stared at the vest, overwhelmed. I can't accept this. I'm not a biker. I don't belong to this world. Marcus spoke quietly. You belonged the moment you saved me. You just didn't know it yet. Raymond added his voice. We're not asking you to ride. We're asking you to accept protection. Let old men honor old debts properly. Sarah looked at Emma, who whispered, Mom, they're giving you superhero armor. That broke the tension. Sarah laughed, wiping her eyes, and nodded acceptance. Cole helped her into the vest, settling it on her shoulders with the weight of commitment and promise. It fit perfectly, Tommy having taken measurements during one of the watch shifts. Sarah looked down at the patches, fingers tracing the medical cross, and her voice came out rough. This is too much. No, ma'am, it's exactly right. Jackson stepped forward with the wooden box. Inside, nestled in velvet, 2 items, Raymond's dog tags from Vietnam, and a smaller vest, child-sized patches matching Sarah's, but adjusted for Emma's frame. Raymond presented his dog tags directly to Emma. Young lady, these tags saved my life in Vietnam. I want you to have them. So you remember that bravery looks different for everyone, but it always matters. Emma took the tags with reverent hands, but these are yours. Now they're yours. Pass them to your daughter someday. Keep the tradition alive. Emma clutched the tags, looking up at Raymond with worship in her eyes. Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Just Raymond, kid. We're family now. Jackson helped Emma into her vest, the patches declaring her protected her lineage tied to warriors who'd decided she mattered. Emma spun in a circle, testing how it felt, and her grin could have powered the city. Cole took a breath, preparing for the formal oath. All 8 brothers placed right fists over hearts, traditional salute of serious promises. Sarah and Emma stood in the center, surrounded by protection made visible. Cole's voice carried command weight. By iron and honor, by road and brotherhood, by the code our fathers taught, and we maintain Sarah Chen Martinez and Emma Rose Martinez are declared family of Iron Brotherhood. Blood of our blood, though no blood was shed. Any hand raised against them is war against us all. Any need they have is ours to meet. Any danger they face is ours to end. This we swear till our last ride. 8 voices answered, till our last ride. The oath hung in the air, sacred and binding, the kind of promise men died keeping. Sarah stood taller, some burdens she'd carried for years finally shared, distributed among shoulders, strong enough to help bear it. Emma looked at each brother in turn, memorizing faces, understanding that family could be chosen as well as born. Marcus produced a camera old-school film that would develop into photographs that lasted. He positioned everyone, Sarah and Emma in front, brothers arranged behind like guardian wall. The flash captured the moment, preserving it for the clubhouse wall, where it would hang beside decades of similar ceremonies. After formality came food. The brothers had ordered pizza, awkward hospitality from men more comfortable with beer than hosting. But Emma didn't care about sophistication. She ate 3 slices while asking Tommy about his daughters, asking Jackson about his motorcycle, asking young Danny why he joined the Brotherhood. Danny, usually quiet, found himself explaining to a 9-year-old, "I was lost. Didn't know what I wanted to be." These brothers showed me that being good man means protecting people weaker than you, keeping your word even when it's hard, standing for something that matters. That's what I wanted to be. Emma nodded seriously. Like a superhero, but real. Exactly like that. Sarah sat with Cole and Raymond processing the evening. I've been alone since my husband died 8 years ago, raising Emma, working constantly, just trying to survive. I forgot what support felt like. This is overwhelming. Raymond's voice carried the gentleness of earned wisdom. You've been carrying combat medic weight in civilian world. That's unsustainable alone. You needed a unit. Now you have one. But I'm not military anymore. I'm just... Cole interrupted. You're never just anything. You're a warrior who came home and kept fighting, kept protecting, kept saving lives even when no one thanked you. That's who you are, and that's who we recognize tonight. Sarah's composure cracked, tears flowing freely now, months or years of held emotion releasing. Emma noticed, came over, wrapped small arms around her mother. Don't cry, Mom. Happy crying is okay. Sarah held her daughter, nodding against Emma's hair. Very happy crying, baby. The evening stretched into night. Brothers taught Emma card games while Sarah talked with Marcus about his life since Vegas, catching up on 12 years in compressed conversation. He showed her photos of his niece and nephew, now teenagers, both smiling and healthy, evidence that her choice to save him had rippled forward into generations. They know about you, Marcus said. I told them the story, how their uncle was dying and a stranger pulled him inside, how that stranger is why they have family now. They want to meet you someday. I'd like that. Next month, maybe I'll bring them up from Phoenix. Emma can meet kids who owe their stability to her mom being brave. Sarah agreed, and Cole watched the connections forming, the way old debts transformed into new relationships, the way the code created family from strangers. By 10 o'clock, Emma was falling asleep in her chair. Sarah stood gathering her daughter. We should go. Tomorrow's school. The brothers walked them out, full escort to the car, Emma wearing her vest over her dress, Raymond's dog tags around her neck. She hugged each brother goodnight, child's unself-conscious affection that melted men who thought they'd forgotten how to feel. Cole watched Sarah drive away, Emma waving through the back window until they turned the corner. The brothers stood in the parking lot, quiet moment of shared satisfaction, knowing they'd done something right. Raymond spoke first. This is what we're supposed to be. Not outlaws, protectors. Tommy agreed. I haven't felt this good about the club in years. Helping Sarah and Emma, that matters more than any bar fight or territorial bullshit. Young Danny added his voice. This is why I joined. This right here. Cole looked at his brother's men who'd chosen to live by codes most people had forgotten and felt something shift in his understanding. Michael's death had convinced him the world was only pain and failure. But Sarah saving Marcus, Emma seeing truth in hands, Lisa giving him another chance with Tyler, the Brotherhood rallying to protect those who needed protection, all of it suggested the world also held redemption and purpose. The code didn't just demand sacrifice, it offered meaning. 6 months later, Emma sat in Silver Creek Diner doing homework while waiting for her mother. The diner had become comfortable, familiar, the place where everything had started that October night. Mr. Garrison brought her hot chocolate without asking, and Betty the waitress checked on her between customers. The door opened. Cole entered, not in his cut, just regular clothes, carrying a bag from the toy store. Behind him, a small boy with dark hair and curious eyes. Emma looked up, grinned. Mr. Cole, and you must be Tyler. Cole smiled, the expression coming easier now after months of practice. Meet my grandson. Tyler, this is Emma. She's the one I told you about. The brave girl. Tyler, 4 years old and shy, peeked from behind Cole's leg. Hi. Emma closed her homework. Want to see what I'm drawing? I'm making a picture of all the brothers on motorcycles. Tyler nodded, and Emma pulled out her sketchbook showing detailed drawings of each brother, their bikes, their patches, all rendered with artistic skill that kept improving. Tyler was fascinated, pointing at Raymond. Who's that? That's Raymond. He's the oldest and wisest. He gave me his dog tags from the Vietnam War. Want to see? She pulled the tags from under her shirt, letting Tyler examine them with careful hands. Cole sat at the next table watching his grandson and Emma bond over dinosaurs and drawings, and felt the weight of the past 6 months every Sunday, with Tyler rebuilding trust with Lisa, watching Sarah gain confidence as she accepted help from the Brotherhood, seeing Emma flourish with protection and extended family. The code had saved them all in different ways. Sarah arrived 20 minutes later, smiling when she saw the gathering. She hugged Emma, nodded greeting to Cole, and crouched to Tyler's level. You must be the grandson I've heard so much about. Tyler nodded shyly. Emma talks about you constantly. Says you have 17 dinosaurs. 19 now. Grandpa brings me new ones. Sarah looked at Cole, and something passed between them, understanding, respect, recognition of parallel journeys from broken to healing. They ordered dinner, unlikely. Family assembled in a small diner, and Emma drew while Tyler watched. Cole and Sarah talked about ordinary parent things, and Mr. Garrison served them with the satisfaction of a man who'd witnessed transformation and approved. Raymond entered at 6, fresh from his daily check on Sarah's house, and Tyler lit up. Are you? Raymond, Emma showed me your dog tags. Raymond smiled, settled into the booth. That's me, young man. You taking good care of those tags? Emma lets me hold them sometimes. They're really important. Yes, sir, they are. Just like you're really important. Tyler glowed under the attention, and Cole watched his grandson experience what Michael had needed, but Cole had failed to provide unconditional, positive regard, presence without criticism, love without conditions. The evening passed in conversation and laughter. Two families merged through tragedy and code and choice. Emma and Tyler became instant friends, making plans for Tyler to see Emma's dinosaur drawings, for Emma to meet Tyler's dinosaur collection. Sarah and Cole compared parenting notes, single mother and reformed grandfather, both learning as they went. When they finally parted, Tyler hugged Emma goodbye with the fierce attachment of small children who'd found kindred spirits. Sarah hugged Cole, brief but warm, fellow warrior acknowledgement. Raymond ruffled both kids' hair, grandfather energy unlimited, now that he'd remembered how to share it. Cole drove Tyler back to Lisa's house, and the boy chattered the entire way about Emma and her drawings and Raymond and his stories. And could they do this every week, please? Every week, Cole promised. That's what family does. Lisa met them at the door, and Tyler ran inside to tell his mother about everything he'd seen. Lisa looked at her father, reading something in his expression. You're different lately, lighter. I'm learning what matters, finally. Michael would be glad. Maybe, I hope so. Lisa touched his arm. He knew you loved him, Dad. Even when you got it wrong, he knew. Cole nodded, not trusting his voice. Lisa kissed his cheek, sent him home with leftover spaghetti and the promise of next Sunday. The ride back to the clubhouse took 20 minutes, but Cole stretched it to 40 just riding through Flagstaff, thinking about debts and codes and second chances. He passed Sarah's house, saw lights on Emma's shadow moving past the window, doing homework or drawing or just being 9 years old in a place that was finally completely safe. He passed the hospital where Sarah worked mornings, the grocery store where she worked nights, the diner where everything had started. 6 months ago, he'd been a man drowning in grief, leading a club dying from lack of purpose. Now he had a grandson who loved him, a daughter who was learning to forgive him, and a mission that gave the Brotherhood meaning beyond nostalgia. The clubhouse parking lot held familiar Bikes brothers, gathering for evening check-in. Cole joined them, sliding into his role as president, listening to reports about Sarah's neighborhood staying quiet about Emma's school, accepting her increasingly strange explanations for why she had honorary uncles who rode motorcycles, about Marcus planning to visit next weekend with his niece and nephew. Raymond pulled Cole aside after the meeting. You've changed. These past 6 months. You're fighting different battles now. Better battles, ones that matter. Your father would be proud. You're living the code he taught. Not perfectly, but honestly. Cole thought about his father, dead 20 years Korean War veteran, who'd built the Iron Brotherhood on principles of honor and protection. The old man had made mistakes too, had been hard in ways that hurt, but he'd kept his promises and protected those who needed it. Maybe that was all anyone could do. Try to be better. Fail sometimes, keep trying anyway. I'm going to keep showing up for Tyler, for Lisa, for this club, for Sarah and Emma. That's all I know how to do. That's all anyone can do. Show up, keep your word, protect the ones who need it. The rest sorts itself out. They stood in the parking lot, two old warriors who'd seen too much death and chosen to protect life instead, and the Arizona night held them with the same indifference it held everyone. But they weren't alone. They had brothers, family chosen, and found codes that outlasted trends and purpose, that came from doing right when everything was easier. Cole looked at the clubhouse, at the brothers inside, at the photograph they'd hung 6 months ago of Sarah and Emma surrounded by warriors. He thought about Michael always would, but the grief felt different now. Less like drowning, more like remembering. Pain that had transformed into determination to do better with the chances remaining. His phone buzzed. Text from Emma. Thank you for bringing Tyler. He's nice. You're a good grandpa. Promises matter. Cole smiled, typed back, yes they do. See you next Sunday. Another text, this one from Lisa. Tyler's asleep with the dinosaur you brought him. Thank you, Dad. And one more from Sarah. Emma won't stop talking about tonight. She asked if Mr. Cole is her grandpa too now. I told her family doesn't work that way, but she said family works however people decide. She might be right. Cole sat on his bike reading messages from people who'd chosen to trust him despite his failures, and felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years' hope. Not the naive kind that ignored reality, but the earned kind that came from getting knocked down and choosing to stand anyway. The code held. The brotherhood endured. The old ways still mattered when applied with wisdom and heart. And somewhere in Flagstaff, a 9-year-old girl slept safe under protection of men who'd sworn oaths that meant something, while her mother finally rested, knowing she didn't carry the weight alone. Morning would bring new challenges. But tonight, the last honor had been paid, and that was enough.